What is your split if your broker gives you the lead? What is your split for a lead you generated? Do you have a cap where the split changes if you hit a certain amount? Been in the business for 2 years, about to start my third year on a 50-50 split with a lead given to me, 60-40 for lead generated by me.
Okay.
Sold 6 million in 2022. Broker pays for everything when it comes to desk fees, TC, listing photos, advertising, etc. All I pay is my MLS dues.
Okay.
And their question is basically if you're on a team, what is your split?
So,
Hmm.
here at eXp Realty, any team, you would still work that out with the team leader. Okay. So
Mm.
let's just kind of visualize this for a moment. Everything that we've spoken about thus far is about the umbrella of eXp Realty and you coming to be an agent with eXp Realty.
Hmm.
Below that layer could be a team within eXp Realty. Okay.
Hmm.
So if you come to eXp Realty, but with a team, then you and that team leader are going to essentially agree to any of the overlays of that team.
Hmm.
This person, for example, on your question, did a really good job of spelling out some of the value that the team offers to them and in juxtaposed to the cost that they're spending by being on the team. All
Hmm.
those things could be true here at eXp Realty just based on what they decide they want to work out with their team leader.
Hmm.
Now, for our team leaders, eXp Realty has a few different types of teams as well. And what that means is the type of team that you decide to plug into could mean you, as the team leader, could offer the agents on your team different caps.
Hmm.
Agents who are not on a team, or even if they are on a team, most agents here at eXp Realty are on a $16,000 cap. If
Hmm.
an agent came to a team and it's the type of team that's been set up with eXp Realty where they can offer them a half cap, then if you join that team, you could potentially take an $8,000 cap instead of 16. I know that sounds amazing, but there's a couple caveats there. Number one, that team leader at minimum has to charge you a 25% overlay of costs that you pay to the team leader in addition to EXP. So,
Hmm.
for example, if you did a transaction and earned a $10,000 commission, the team, obviously, as I mentioned, if you want an $8,000 cap, has to at least take 25%. Okay, so that's 2,500 bucks. The $7,500 that's still yours now gets the 80-20 split with EXP Realty. Does that make sense? So
Hmm.
you're essentially taking 45% of your commission there and dividing it amongst people for the value of having a lesser cap. For some agent, it makes perfect sense.
Hmm.
For a lot of agents, it doesn't make a lot of sense because when your cap is lowered, some of the other incentives, like the stock accumulation that we have, is based on a $16,000 cap. If your
Mm.
cap is lowered, it could change when you're awarded stocks.
Mm.
That's for a team leader, but there are different team types here at eXp Realty. Okay.
Hmm.
That's mainly for our team leaders, right? That all that I just shared. It's a
Hmm.
possibility though. If you're a mega team, you can even offer a $4,000 cap. Okay.
Hmm.
But to the agents that are on your team, all those things need to be worked out. A lot of them are volume driven, meaning if you're a team leader that does enough volume with your team, then you could qualify for some of these options. Okay.
Hmm.
For
Hmm.
the agent on the team, this is still a personal question that they need to answer for themselves as far as what's the value I'm getting from this team versus what I'm willing to spend for the team. Okay.
Mm. Interesting.
Was that
Nice.
way too convoluted of an answer? Because I want to answer the question as thoroughly as possible.
Yeah.
But at the end of
Mm.
the day, what you come over to EXP on a team with is still between you and your team leader.
Hmm. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, because I think you went into I believe like it helps like understanding that the difference between being on a team under EXP or even
Mhm.
under any brokerage and then just being, I want to say like a solo agent. It's like
Right.
knowing the difference and knowing how commission splits work. And so that's good. This is so this is I want to say a controversial One.
Let's go.
And so, yeah. And so, okay, so this person says, so I believe they're speaking to the companies like EXP that
Mhm.
have this revenue share model.
Yeah.
So it says, how do you share revenue before you pay expenses when the company isn't profitable? What happens to revenue share when the company isn't profitable? This model is not sustainable and it's only a matter of time before it implodes. Profit share is the way, not revenue share.
Yeah.
ABC company has been through this before. Not having office rent does not validate revenue share. Aren't you guys a tech company? Tech companies burn cash like crazy.
I don't know which brand they're referencing. If it is EXP Realty, here's the good news now.
Hmm.
That question and argument used to cause concern for
Hmm.
agents outside of EXP, inside of EXP Realty, but we've been around since 2009.
Hmm.
If anyone watching this remembers, what did the market look like in 2009?
Woo, it was
The
terrible.
the dust wasn't even settled yet. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
EXP started in that same time frame,
Mm,
which caused a lot of things to be really important for us. Number one, we built a model with a lot of lean efficiency in our processes. Number two, and this is the main reason why I bring this up, since then, we've become one of the biggest brokerages across the world.
hmm.
And because we're publicly traded, that's no longer a question. You can go and see all of our public reportings of our earnings, our balance sheets. It's required of us to present that information. And again, we're traded on the NASDAQ. So the level of accuracy has to be spot on or someone's going to jail.
Hmm.
Ultimately, the good news is EXP's approach to revenue share is this: the company will always pay out exactly 50% of the revenue. So
Mm,
whatever they earn, 50% exactly will go out to the agents.
hmm.
The other 50% is what the company gets to use for the company, right? Because they knew
Hmm.
those metrics, they built an entire business model that stayed within those means. Because we are a virtual cloud-based brokerage and we own the software that runs our meta office, that means that we don't have to worry about some of the fluctuation and the really high costs of brick and mortar. That's what this person's referencing. What
Hmm.
this person also missed the point of though is that if I have 50 different offices, each office probably needs some kind of broker or leadership, maybe a trainer, possibly transaction coordinators. Like they need people there to support those agents locally. When you run a meta office, you get to centralize those efforts. And I guess the moral of this story is you get to eliminate a lot of the fat in that regard. You
Hmm.
have the lean team that you need to support the agents that you need, and they can come in and get what they need in real time in a meta office, and you don't have overlap
Yep.
because it may not take the 50 different groups in those 50 offices to handle all those agents. But if you're still, you know, geographically contained, you're going to have to do a lot of replication and spend a lot of money you didn't have to spend.
Hmm.
There's a lot of reasons why our model makes so much sense, but the biggest response to that question is go look at our public filings and you will see that we are highly profitable even in this time, right? We are early 2024 with a
Hmm.
market that's been really starved of transactional volume and we're still paying a dividend this year. So,
Mm, hmm. Yeah.
no
Yeah.
longer a question of theory, will this work? It's proven that it does.
Yeah. Yeah. Like that. So this is regarding commission splits.
Yep.
Um, they preface it by saying, I love my tiny brokerage. It's essentially just me, my broker, and a couple other agents who do less than five deals a year. I'm not even sure they do that. I just see their licenses on the wall. What I'm wondering is, what is a typical commission split? I've heard that a certain brokerages, it's based on a flat percentage no matter what, or where the leads come from. And at others, you retain all of your commission after you hit a certain earnings. I ask because even though I'm getting fed leads, the commission split is 50-50. I've gotten my own leads and it's still 50-50. and my broker gave me one of her clients and required a referral fee of 20% on top of the commission split of 50/50. Jeez. Is this a normal structure or am I being taken advantage of? I don't want to sacrifice future earnings even though I'm at a great place otherwise.
The reality is, Cameron, it'd be really unfair for me to say that they're getting taken advantage of. And here's
Mm,
why. If they're getting the quality of lead, that's not even a lead, it's more of an appointment or a transaction to go and perform.
hmm
And if that agent has not developed or knows how to create a consistent enough amount of volume in terms of lead flow, and transactions, then 50/50 might be a deal of a lifetime, because if they don't have it, they may not have any income at all.
hmm
On the flip side, if this agent is doing a lot of volume or significantly more than the leads that they're being fed from their own due diligence and work, then they could be getting completely ripped off in that model.
mm,
There's just not enough information to truly say in this case. Um, I don't think it's fair to look at someone's split and go, "Oh yeah, you're getting taken advantage of." There's so
hmm
much more at play to really answer that, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see that often too in like Facebook groups and stuff like that. They basically post their scenario and then you see all of these, like I'm assuming they're brokers and, real estate agents giving their input on it.
Mhm.
And I'm like, wait a second, they're not giving you the whole, picture of what's going on. And so, how could you really give them a really good advice on their situation because you don't really know. Like you don't know the training they're getting. You don't know the is the brokerage handling the marketing? Is it's like you don't know the trade-offs in their certain situation. And so, yeah, it's very hard to give advice on that.
It is, and it's so easy for people to act like they know it all and just based on a stat like the split,
hmm
lay their opinion as to whether or not someone's being ripped off. And in most
Yeah.
cases, they have no way of knowing because there's so much more at play to truly answer that question.
Okay, so this one, I'm a newer agent, under a year. I
Mhm.
have a couple of closings, but not every month, and I'm still losing money to try to make money. I just received an email from my brokerage saying they are going to not only increase desk fees come January 1st, so I'm assuming this is last year. They are going to charge a monthly fee every month. I do not have a closing until my desk fee is met. Yeah. They already charge a high split plus a mentor rate the first year. I have a fairly good relationship with the managing broker and the broker owner that I would like to keep, and I'm open to going to a new brokerage. Um, Thanks in advance for any wisdom, commiseration, and advice.
Yeah, so I mean, not really a question there.
hmm
Definitely just laying it out there for people to maybe give their honest feedback to. And my concern is always this: if that level of change is required for the brokerage to maybe maintain
hmm
or stay open, um, that's very concerning,
hmm
because if they're not able to sustain, their expenses during a time like this, when again, we're talking early 2024, when transactional volume across the country has been at like a 30-year low.
hmm
Okay. And, you know, there's agents that are still out there crushing it. A lot of people are feeling this lack of volume, if you will. But at the end of the day, that's the ebb and flow of real estate. Okay.
hmm
Agents feel that all the time. Brokerages, if they don't know how to make sure they run lean and mean and have the ability to adjust during this time, then you might experience what this person is, where they go, well, guess what, agent? You're going to pay us more money.
hmm
And that's a challenge, but it's not only a challenge in the short term as far as the next transaction for this agent, it really should cause the question for them over the long haul: what does this really mean? Is this
hmm
the right leadership that I'm attached to?
Yeah.
That's a challenge. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Because you think about it, it makes you ask the question of like, wait, why are they just raising fees out of nowhere? And so like, what's going on to what caused them to be like, you know what, we need to start raising fees? And so like, yeah, that I could see how that could be concerning
I
on
would
most
also
agents'
say
part.
this: it's really concerning because Don't think for a minute that the leadership of that office didn't consider the amount of attrition that may happen by raising fees.
Mm,
And yet this was still the better alternative.
mhm. Yep.
In my
Yep.
opinion, that's a little concerning.
Yeah.
Some companies have to adjust, man. It's just the way that it is. But if it's that
Mm,
significant and they're already charging a high split and a mentor fee, that's where it's like, man, I don't know how much more they can continue to take before their entire model doesn't work. Cameron, this is true of a lot of brokerages out there, smaller ones, even franchises. This is the challenge with a lot of brokerages out there, like your flat fee, your franchise models, where they're running out of ways to differentiate themselves. There's not a lot more value they can pour in, especially in a market like this. So it tends to be a race to the bottom, meaning,
mhm,
well, I'll just charge less. I'll charge less. And a lot of companies got privy to the idea of, well, how about we very strongly suggest that our producers use our escrow company or any other affiliated businesses with that office that can basically mean the real estate side can run in the red because the other affiliates can run in the black to offset the loss on the real estate side. Those models are extremely frightening, in my opinion, because all it takes is a small dip in production, like the entire market is experiencing now. It's just not happening as often
mhm,
to make that entire thing shut down.
mhm. Yep. That's
So,
true.
yeah, so that's where agents really need to make sure they're clear um, that they're working with a brokerage that's not going to be gone tomorrow. Here's what's a
Mhm,
challenge though. If it's a franchise, if it's a smaller brokerage, no one has to show you their balance sheets. No one has to show you the back end of how that brokerage is operating. We're lucky because we're publicly traded. So it is required in our case. In
mhm.
a lot of other companies, it's not. Even
Yeah.
big, massive names that people know, if it is not publicly traded, then they are not obligated to disclose that information.
Mm, mhm.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So this person put, I would like to get some advice from the Realtor network. I currently work for a boutique brokerage.
Mhm.
The training is decent. I'm at 100% commission, but the lead gen is basically non-existent. The CRM is complicated, and I'm considering a change. I found a brokerage I like and feel will work for me. I'd start there at 65% split with potential to cap at only 80%. However, they pay for all of the marketing. Their CRM seems amazing. Lead gen is paid for. They pay for postcards and ad boosts, pay postage for mailers, and have offices all over. Am I overthinking this? Is it worth the switch?
I'm going to be brutally honest about my opinion in this dynamic.
Hmm.
This is an agent who is asking for fish and is not looking for ways to learn how to fish.
Mm,
The training is great or the training's good, but the lead generation's non-existent. I can't take the first part of what he said seriously then. If
hmm.
you're being trained and it's not allowing you to go build and fish on your own or produce your own opportunities, then I question what kind of training that is. Or I question that person's real focus in building a real estate business.
Mm.
I'm hearing someone who just wants to be fed real estate transactions. And that should come at a pretty hefty price, to be quite frank with you.
Yeah.
Because if it was just about doing the transactions, real estate would be easy for 90% of us.
Hmm.
But if you're going to be out here in an entrepreneurial venture like selling real estate, that means you're everything from the janitor to the CEO. And I still look at things like this. The extremity is there's marketers and then there's practitioners. Okay.
Hmm.
Marketers win. We got to go out there and put in the work to build our own pipeline of business. You better darn well be a great practitioner too, because all of this could fall apart if you can't deliver at the same
Hmm.
time.
Hmm.
But if you just want to be a practitioner, you're either going to pay a lot of money or you might want to go work for a builder because you just want to be fed the
Mhm.
transactions.
Which do you feel that, like, in my opinion, from what I've seen in the industry, I feel like 90%, maybe 90% plus of real estate agents are in that category, to where they're not entrepreneurial, they're not trying to build businesses. They want to be a real estate agent, which is basically, let me, pass me some business. I'm going to help this people get into the home, or I'm going to help them sell a home.
And I'm not suggesting that there's not a place for those people at all. I'm not suggesting that. But this is
Hmm.
where you are going to find yourself on a team because the team
Hmm.
leader is the one doing all that other work to produce those opportunities, and they should be compensated for that so
Yep.
that you can just go about not worrying about where your next deal is going to come from. It's going to be handed to you,
Hmm.
and you're going to pay hefty at the closing table because all you had to do was work the deal.
Yep.
Um, and hey, the team leader wants you there too because that's their business model. So there's a
Hmm.
place there for everyone in that regard. What I find is there's a lot of agents who fall into that because they were never taught the right way how to be both.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
remember, great real estate agents, people are crushing it, even team leaders. Asking them to also be a great educator is asking a lot. Just because someone can sell ice to an Eskimo does not mean they can teach you to do the same. Different
Hmm.
skill set.
Yep.
That's where things get really challenging because people think, oh, I know, I'll just have proximity to success. But that's not necessarily going to help you create the skills, the know how, the blueprint to go and duplicate those results.
Yeah. That makes sense.
But there's a behind for every seat, as someone once said it to me. Okay.
Yeah.
It's not to say you're wrong or bad if you just want to do deals, but just know it's going to come at a cost. And it
Hmm.
may mean you work for a builder and you never get weekends off and you get paid like a stipend until you close deals. And it's not going to be the same as being a regular agent out here in the real world, or I should say on
Hmm.
the resale side. Or it means that you're going to work with a team leader who's going to be a rainmaker and give you opportunities, but you're going to pay them a hefty split at closing because all you had to do is work the deal. And
Hmm.
they love you for that because that's their model and it's your model. And if that's the alignment, rock and roll.
Hmm. Well, yeah, let me ask this. Like, I mean, this is kind of off topic, but it's just like you just sparked the thought. Do you think, like, for a newer agent who is trying to get things going for their business, like, what's your thoughts on joining a team? And like, and I want to say, like, a team, like, they're busy, like, they're doing their thing, they have their systems in order, they have their lead gen going, they have all of their SOPs, if you will,
Mhm.
and then you get integrated into that. It is a really high split, 50-50 maybe, or whatever it may be. And but like, what are your thoughts on, doing that just to start out, just to see how everything works and operates, not only on the business side, but then what the consumers are demanding of you?
Yeah. I think that there could be definitely some benefit there, a substantial amount. I think that the agent's goals really need to be dialed in so they know if that environment is right for them.
Mm.
Um, here's what I mean by that. You can start on a team, but if your goal is to ultimately find yourself on your own team, um, there's going to have to be some deprogramming and a whole lot of effort to make sure that you can operate outside of the team thereafter. Because if that team's keeping you really busy doing deals, working the leads that they provided, you're going to have to figure out how you get yourself to that position.
Mm.
And you might need to figure that out by going cold turkey because now you're on your own and you got to figure that out quick.
Hmm.
So what I'm suggesting is that if the agent's goals are in line with the team, great, knock yourself out. And I there's a lot of reason why I think that could be extremely valuable. I've
Hmm.
always been of the opinion that the best way to learn is by doing. So a lot of agents want to know everything about the transaction, have every checklist and what if this happens then what? But the truth is they're going to learn far faster and I think with a lot more stickiness of their learning by being in the middle of a transaction where it's like I have to know now. If I don't know what to do next, then I'm failing my client, the transaction won't move forward it's no longer like, well, I'd like to know how this works. It's I have to know how this works. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that there's a really important way in which people absorb and retain information that way. So I'm a believer in that. I want people in transactions with the right support and the right people around them to make sure that they can't fail their client more than anything else. We owe that
Mm-hmm.
to our consumers. But I think that agents will learn a lot better, a lot faster that way than just hearing in classroom style settings 1,000 times over how to manage a transaction because they don't
Yeah.
need to actually know. And they're not learning from a place of experience. When they're in the middle of the transaction, they're experiencing it and they're applying the knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Far superior learning. That's one
Right.
reason why a team could be super helpful for an agent. But let me tell you why it also can concern me based on the agent's goals over the long haul of their career.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in our last market crash, the 2000, 9, 10, 11s, I sold a lot of bank owned properties. And I was actually the national trainer of that brokerage, teaching agents how to manage REOs.
Mm-hmm.
Everything from accepting an assignment, navigating cash for keys, the marketing aspect. In the REO side of things, it's like relocation. A lot of institutional clients really have a very specific process that they do not want agents to deviate from. What that does, though, it puts the agent in a position where they're almost like a task manager or they're like an employee, right? They're
Mm-hmm.
assigned a task. That task has to be done within that specified period of time, preferably earlier, or they'll lose the listing, as an example. I've worked with so many agents in that other brokerage where, as the REO started to go away after years, those agents really started to lose themselves because they thought, I've built up now my entire career around the REO asset. I'm a great task manager. I do BPOs better than anyone. I know how to negotiate cash for keys. Like, just give me more of these REOs because I know exactly what to do, how to do it. I know what pictures to take. I know how to complete the assignment in the software so that the asset manager's happy. And those are all great things,
Mm-hmm.
but they forgot how to hunt.
Mm-hmm.
And it took years of helping those agents figure out how to hunt again and create their own business. The good news is when we still had some of those REOs left, it was a simple, but still difficult for them, but it was simple. It wasn't easy, it was simple. It was a simple path of turning that one REO into 4 and 5 other opportunities and pieces of business.
Mm-hmm.
But so many agents who are in an environment where they're fed the opportunities either never learn how to or forget what it means to go out there and hunt on their own. So as long as
Mm-hmm.
someone's really clear about that and can leverage the team for their ramp up their growth, that's great. But if your ultimate goal is not to be on the team, don't lose your will and your
Mm-hmm.
understanding of what it means to go out there and hunt for yourself.
The last question is, what is a fair commission split for a new real estate agent at a new brokerage? Is
Mhm.
50-50 the best a new agent can do?
No, that's the simple answer to that. It's not the best that they can do
Mm-hmm.
as far as a split goes.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, is 50-50 the best for that agent? I don't know because I don't know what it comes with. It
Mm-hmm.
may come with some superior training. Like I put together a program after I've been in the business 20 years next month, which is nuts. I've
Mm-hmm.
taken my entire career, poured it into a program called 0 to 6 figures in 20 weeks. I'm basically taking an agent through 20 weeks of training so that they will get 5 years of experience within that 4-month period.
Mm-hmm.
Every checklist that I've created on my own, every script that I use, every process that I've built out, every template of a presentation, they're given in my program. Would it be fair for me to charge someone 50-50 to go through that if I was running it that way? The answer is absolutely yes.
Mm-hmm.
I still think they're getting a good deal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If it, by the way, I'm not running it that way. I'm just saying if that were my situation and I was doing it based on a split, there you go. I think that would be
Mm.
totally fair.
Mhm.
If that brokerage is providing enough value to offset that cost, then yeah, that's a great situation. There's a lot of brokerages out there that even if they offered you 90/10 as a brand new agent, you should run away. It's not just about the number, it's about the value, the opportunities, the growth, the leadership, the support. There's more into it than just the sheer numbers.